Hey everyone, it's Alex, and you're listening to the Everyday Stories podcast, a podcast about the everyday stories from the people you know and the people you don't know, here to help you learn a thing or two about life and the stories that define us. Today we're talking to Polina Petrova.
Yeah.
Okay. Polina is 22 years old, originally from Bulgaria, where she's currently based, and studying media and communications in Germany. Her biggest dream is to work in luxury brand management, and outside of work and school, Polina is currently in the process of publishing her first novel. So, Polina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of
Hi.
course. So I remember we met over Substack, and the first post that I read in your Substack was about living with myopathy. And I know this is something that we wanted to chat about on this episode of the podcast. So I remember too, out of all of the Substacks that I read, yours was one that I read like hundreds from this one post that I had put up. And I remember still like your story was so interesting and impactful. So thank you for reaching out and wanting to get into your story. So my first question for you is, can you tell everyone what is myopathy and what are some of the things that you have to go through day to day living with myopathy?
Well, my disability, as you already know from Alex, is called myopathy. It's basically a muscle disease that controls the voluntary movements. Basically, it's up to different people. For me, it's a lot of muscles. For some people, it's just like little bits here and there. So it depends on the person, chair to move around, stroll around, and that is basically it. I do whatever each one of you does, and that's it.
And since being, or tell me about your story about being diagnosed with myopathy as well. Like how I know that it sort of like you had symptoms presented at like a really young age. So tell me about that process of maybe you don't even remember it, but maybe your parents have told you as you've grown up. But tell me about how like you and your family figured out that you had myopathy.
So when I was 3 months old, babies needs to do certain exercises so they can see the movement of the baby. I couldn't lift up my head, and that was the first sign that my mom saw, and she kind of got concerned about it, but everyone brushed it away. Because it was 2002 and nobody used the internet and nobody kind of knew what it was about to be. And then we started going to different doctors and professionals. There was this thing that I was about to pass away when I'm 8 months old. Obviously, nothing of that happened. I'm still here. And it was like every day I was going to physical therapy after kindergarten, after middle school, after high school, after university. So that's the thing I do every day. But I kind of stopped visiting doctors after a certain age because for me, there is no cure except for physical exercises. I've through operations, through um different um just like things that I don't didn't necessarily liked. So
Uh,
yeah, that's it. I do remember all of them though.
So what do the surgeries entail? Like what are they trying to work on for you?
They were trying to get a piece of my muscle to make a dissection, to go through just like scientific experimental stuff. And they were trying to find a cure, but there is no cure. They were seeing my vitamins, they were seeing my blood cells, stuff like that.
Oh, and then physical therapy that do you still do it every day?
I do it every day. Yeah.
And what does that entail?
It's like going to the gym. When people ask me, do you go to the gym? I'm like, yeah, I
It's
do.
physical therapy.
It's physical therapy. Literally, I push different stuff. I work on my muscles. I work for my upper body, for my legs, for my core. Literally, whatever every other person does in the gym.
So you're more fit than a lot of people in the US who like don't
Yes,
exercise
yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Um, I also wanted to ask you as well. I know that you told me that you're from a Balkan Slavic background. I am not 100% sure what that means, but would love for you to explain it. But one of the things that you talked to me about too was coming from that background. How has your disability shaped your identity and self-love from that cultural perspective?
From a cultural perspective, it's very different. Okay, let's begin with Slavic Balkan thing. Basically, I'm from East Europe, so that makes me Slavic. So just, for example, Russian, Ukrainian, and Bulgarian, we share the same alphabet, so that is the Slavic part. And Balkan is just like Greece and Romania, that region of Europe.
Through a cultural perspective, how has your disability shaped your identity and self-love?
Self-love, I learned with years to love myself. I started nurturing my body. I have to nurture my body naturally with my disability. So that was something that usually we don't quite do here. We don't do the whole um inspirational stuff. We are more tough and we go with through everything with a little bit more personality and a little bit more passion. So there's that.
Got it. And how do you think your disability has impacted your relationship with other people, if at all?
It definitely has shaped my connection with people. For example, when I meet with strangers, they expect something different and they start to get to know me and then they start to see that behind the wheelchair there is actually a normal person, and then we become friends.
I think at the end of the day, and as you were saying that, like, you're just like everyone else at the end of the day, like you're human. And the important part is being able to connect with one another through human interaction more so than anything else. Because it sounds like from what you're saying, when people actually get to talk to you, you're like, oh yeah, like Pauline is cool, like cool as hell, like is like the most amazing person. So I think more so that we have to be open to talking to one another and just having conversations and like hearing each other's stories, which we're sort of doing right now. And hopefully this can reach everyone out there to learn more about yours. But I also wanted to ask too, as you've learned how to manage your myopathy, what are I know you spoke about some of like the survival tools that you've picked up, tips and tricks. What are some of those?
For some of those, you need to have a very strong family behind you and a very strong friendships, because a lot of people, as we just talked about it, people have different perception of the disabled people. So there's that. You have to have a really strong mindset. You don't have to give up immediately. That is the thing that my own parents taught me. You never have to say no. You just have to continue pushing forward. Um, and there's also like movement related stuff that are tips and tricks. For example, I taught myself how to use different instruments so I can reach for certain objects or grab certain things. I literally had to teach myself, like a baby, how to put on my shoes or how to put on my clothes. And for the outsiders, those things seem a little weird at first, but for me, they work and I use them.
Yeah. And when people, I know that we spoke about some of like the first impressions that people will have, but when people do first meet you and they like don't know you at all, what are some of the first questions that they ask you?
They think that I have never went to a normal school. They think that I've never been in a relationship or just like the little things that normal people do, especially when I was a teenager. It was so strange for my peers that I do everything like them. And it's also really interesting to see how children react to people with disabilities because their parents teach them that they should just walk away from us and that they shouldn't ask questions. And I encourage actually people and definitely kids to answer to ask us questions because we are the only people that can answer them in the right way.
I know that you talked about how like kind of like dating and relationships, and I wanted to ask you what it like as someone with your disability, what it's like in the dating world.
To be honest, I think my disability in the dating field is both a blessing and a curse, and I'm going to explain you why.
It's
Um,
what? Sorry, say that
it's a
again.
it's a blessing and it's a curse. Like it's
Okay.
a negative and a positive thing, both because I'm coming forward with my biggest, I'm going to put quotation marks here, red flag, and you can see it and then act by it. Do you know what I mean? Like you see me with my wheelchair, you already know what I'm going to, what is going to be my biggest struggle. Like I don't have to explain myself to
Yeah.
you. But also I have very weird experiences with men asking weird questions that I felt kind of weird
What are some of
answering
the
them.
questions?
They're mostly sexual and like it's so weird. Like,
Gosh.
can you do this or can you do that or is like are you working all right? I'm like standing here trying to answer them in the most nicest way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that like the weird questions that you've gotten have all been like sexual questions about things that you can do and you can't do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Um, but to like that, do you have any silly or fun stories from like from your dating experience?
And I have like very silly stories because I'm trying to curate as much as I can. And I told myself that I shouldn't stay in a bad environment. I don't feel okay with it. But just like I told you, the men have been asking very weird questions. And I've been ghosted, especially online. I've been ghosted because they don't know how to handle a certain situation or they don't know what their peers are going to say about me or, the families. So yeah.
And have you like been in a relationship that you've met through the dating app? Okay, wait. So I have like two sort of questions. The first is, um, are you on the dating apps? And if you are on the dating apps or dating online, do you like if you have pictures or a little description, do you tell people like point blank, like I have myopathy, like I I like move around through a wheelchair, or do you not disclose that? And then when people first meet you, that's when they can see.
When I was younger, when I was like 17, 18, my socials, you can tell that I was hiding something. I was hiding my wheelchair so well because at that time I didn't know how to perceive myself as a disabled person. I didn't come with in terms with myself yet. So when I was approached online, I didn't tell them right away, scared that they're going to ghost me or that they're going to, just like stop talking to me in general. But then when I grew older, I started to appreciate myself more and I started going out more. So I don't hide myself. You can see me as I am. This is me and that's it.
Yeah. And what was that shift for you when you realized, like, I don't have to hide like who I am and how I like go about my everyday life. Like here it actually is. What was the shift for you to move into being more transparent about the life that you live?
I think just like journaling helped me a lot. I started studying psychology as well. So that was another thing. And I started seeing another just like side of social media. I found my community. I found girls and women that are advocating for themselves. And that kind of made me go like, oh my God, like I should be proud of myself and I should show off myself.
Hell yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, wait, with like your wheelchair, do you like deck it out? Like, I don't know, like you could like, I don't know, cool charms on it or
Well,
anything.
I don't think you can put charms on it. At least I never thought about that. That's a great idea, actually. I'm going to use it.
Nice.
Uh, but you can have just like a green or a pink wheelchair. Mine is green. I don't know if you can see it. You don't. Mine is green. And I've always wanted a pink one. I'm trying to do that in the future years. But you can put some stuff on the wheels. So it's like a galaxy or a forest, or you can put lights. So yeah, it can become very cool.
I feel like you could um like the LED lights that you could like
Yeah, you
put
can
on the
customize it.
wheelchair.
Yeah,
Have
you can
like
do
do
that
people
as
do
well.
that?
I think so. I've seen that on Pinterest.
It makes me think about like the cars that, because I'm in New York City, and the cars that some that are like decked out with like all these different decorations, they have like lights on their wheels that, and also a really loud engine that's like it's like so loud. But sometimes they have like the lights on the wheels, and that's what like makes me think about like adding the lights like on like a wheelchair or something like that. Could be really cool. You never
Yeah,
know, but I hope you end up like getting a pink wheelchair because I think that would be so cool.
I think so too.
So
Yeah.
fun. And then the second question about the dating world is like, have you been able to find like, have you been in a relationship before? And
Yeah.
if you have been in a relationship before, what was that experience like?
I have been in a relationship before. It was very interesting in the beginning, coming to terms with myself, because I have been in a relationship when I was like 19, 20. So that was a very pivotal phase for me mentally as a woman. And it's been great, honestly. I didn't have any uncomfortable moments when it comes to my disability, of course.
And are you still in a relationship?
No,
Oh, okay. Sorry. I
that's
feel
okay.
you as fellow person that is also was in a relationship and got broken up. Like it's gonna be okay, you know.
Going to be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna thrive. You're also like so like you're so young. You have so much life to live. Like there are gonna be so many other relationships that come down the line. But it's so interesting hearing about like your dating stories. I love that you like got into that a little bit. The last thing I want to chat with you about is tell me about your Substack. It's called Polina's Inner Monologue. So, how long have you been writing on Substack, and why did you decide to start it?
I've been writing on Substack since the beginning of March, so 14 days so far, I think.
Yeah.
And I started because I was fed up with some stuff, especially in my own country. I wasn't seeing much representation. I was seeing some stuff on the news, and I've always wanted to share my opinion, but I didn't know how to do that. But I've always wanted to write, so I was like, I think this is going to be it. And Polina Cinema Monologue is going to be about how I handle different stuff. It's going to be about relationship, mental health. I think that I want to give tips and tricks when it comes to, fashion when you have disability. So yeah, just like everything, a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And do you have like a vision for the future of your Substack? I know you talked about it a little bit, but do you see the Substack, you writing in it for like years to come? And do you see your Substack evolving in any way?
I do see my Substack evolving, and I do see having a community where we can all share our experiences, disabled, or for example, for the friends and partners of people like me. That's what I imagine.
And if there are any last last words of advice or things that you want to say to people who like kind of like me who had never really heard about myopathy beforehand, what is something that you want to tell people and kind of get the word out about your disability?
I think that disabled or not, we should all understand each other and we should be nice to each other. And of course, as I said before, it's always nice to ask. It's always I encourage it, and I think other disabled people are going to encourage it as well.
Yeah. And my last question for you is, what is something that you've learned within the past year of your life that you're going to take into the next year of your life?
That's a good question. That I should be this stillborn as I am right now, and that I should just like don't care what other people are going to say about me. I should just do whatever I think is right.
Just do you at the end
Yeah,
of the day. Don't
exactly.
care what anyone else says. Just do you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Polina, thank you so much for joining and hopping on this podcast and talking to me and everyone else about your story. I like to end every episode with a quote. And I was looking up quotes based off of what we're going to talk about. And this is the quote that really stuck out to me. And it's, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. And that was from Jimmy Dean.
Do you know what's funny? I
What?
actually have that as a wallpaper on my phone. I do this mood boards, and this quote is there.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait, that's so cool. So, okay, picked a good quote then.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Polina, for joining. And thank you for everyone that is listening.